It wasn't too long ago that Google blindsided most of us by pulling off what seemed like a miracle at the time with the Pixel 2 series of devices. A smartphone that was even better than the first generation in terms of camera, but also one that managed to take better portraits than dual camera smartphones, not just with the rear camera, but the front camera as well. Although it isn't as revolutionary as the Pixel is, it still does set a trend and a benchmark for mid-ranger smartphones and also raises a question. How does the Redmi Note 5 Pro stack up against the Pixel 2 XL, and does it provide nearly as good an experience without needing to shell out as much money? This is Sandeep from Rev, let's find out. The Pixel 2 XL comes with a 12.2 megapixel camera with 1x2.6 inch sensor size, f1.8 aperture and 1.4 micron pixel size as well as OIS. The Redmi Note 5 Pro on the other hand has a primary 12 megapixel camera with f2.2 aperture, 1.25 micron pixel size as well as a secondary depth sensing 5 megapixel camera with f2 aperture and 1.12 micron pixel size. It also lacks the OIS that the Pixel 2 XL has. Pixel 2 XL packs in more detail and sharpness than the Note 5 Pro in practically every single photo. This can also be attributed to instant shutter on the Pixel 2 XL, which captures photos all the time when the camera app is on so that it actually is done taking the photo by the time you press the shutter. Its photos are also a bit more contrasty and punchier. However, the Note 5 Pro impressed us with its white balance and colors, which in some instances were more pleasing than the Pixel. In terms of dynamic range, the HDR mode on the 5 Pro also produces some impressive results. The image is a bit flatter and is generally a bit underexposed. However, it holds a great amount of dynamic range that can put some higher-end smartphones to shame and even look very similar to the Pixel 1. Unless you zoom in and see the difference in detail and sharpness, it's sometimes tough to tell them apart. When it comes to low-light performance, the Pixel is tough to match. The photos are just so much sharper and have better detail and exposure compared to the 5 Pro. The noise levels are also lower unless in extremely dark conditions where the extra sharpness and clarity makes the noise more apparent on the Pixel while the 5 Pro's processing masks it. Now on to perhaps the most important part of this comparison, the portrait mode. This is one photo which all of you might remember from our poll. Phone A in this case was the Pixel 2 XL and phone B was the Note 5 Pro. Like many pointed out, the blurring looks more natural on the Note 5 Pro, and that's pretty true. However, some flaws come to light when you pixel peep, pun unintended. For one, the image isn't as sharp as the Pixel 1. You can see the blur bleeds into the camera a bit, and that's actually still fine. But the Nikon logo itself is a bit blurry on the 5 Pro. The edges are also more defined on the Pixel 2 XL, and the dynamic range is much superior too. The highlights are blown out on the 5 Pro. That seems to be a trend in portrait mode. Pixel 2 XL generally produces sharper photos with more detail, while the blurring algorithm can be considered a bit too much in some cases. The 5 Pro is much better than most smartphones in this price range and even higher up, but the Pixel still leads. There are a few more examples that showcase the better edge detection on the Pixel 2 XL. However, one thing that really impressed us on the 5 Pro again was the better colors and the more accurate white balance. The Note 5 Pro has a 20 megapixel f2.2 1x2.8 inch sensor with 1 micron pixel size at the front, while the Pixel 2 XL has an 8 megapixel f2.4 1x3.2 inch sensor with 1.4 micron pixel size. Despite the lower resolution and seemingly inferior specifications of the front camera on the 2 XL, it actually produces better images with more dynamic range and sharpness thanks to a superior image processing. The front camera portraits also have a better algorithm on the Pixel 2 XL, unless you're talking about group portraits, where in most cases the Pixel 2 XL tends to cancel out your friend or family, while the 5 Pro does a better job even though the edges aren't as refined. When it comes to video recording, the Pixel 2 XL does have better dynamic range and details, but the EIS is pretty similar on both. The stabilization on the Pixel 2 XL seems better in a straight line, but when panning, the 5 Pro seems to handle it perhaps even better. Please do note that for a more fair comparison, we shot both on 1080p and then upscaled to 4K for the video. The 5 Pro doesn't yet support 4K recording, but the Pixel 2 XL does. When it comes to a front-facing camera, they both shoot 1080p video. The Pixel doesn't have EIS, and while the 5 Pro does have an option to enable it, it doesn't really work, at least not right now. Video is again better here when it comes to detail and dynamic range, but the difference is less tangible than the rear camera. The audio, however, is much noisier on the 5 Pro. So this is the front-facing camera on the Google Pixel 2 XL. Let me know how the overall sharpness is, the stability, the dynamic range, and how well it's managing to capture my voice as well in this particular video. This is the front-facing camera of the Redmi Note 5 Pro. Let me know how the overall quality is, how the stabilization is, and how it's managing to pick up my voice as well as the overall sharpness, the detailing, and the dynamic range. Just like hardware on smartphones have slowly reached a saturation point and focus shifted to the software to make the experience better, the shift from simply putting better hardware to actually optimizing the algorithm to extract the best from the same hardware camera seems to be the approach the manufacturers are shifting towards. Google started it and Xiaomi seems to have learned a thing or two from it. While the Note 5 Pro doesn't beat the Pixel 2 XL, it comes pretty damn close, and that's saying something. I may not let go of my Pixel 2 XL just yet, but there are plenty of people out there who might just buy the Note 5 Pro because of what it offers at the price. Thanks for watching this video. See you again in the next one.